All right, today we're diving into a really brilliant piece of engineering from the early days of microprocessors. We're talking about the Intel 8085. We're going to pull back the curtain on this one clever trick it used to solve a huge problem, a trick that honestly helped make computing accessible to way more people. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let me ask you this. Imagine you've got one single train track. And on that track, you need to run a super fast passenger train and a slow, heavy cargo train. How do you make sure they don't smash into each other? How does each one know when it's their turn? Keep that image in your head because that's the exact kind of puzzle early chip designers were trying to solve. So that brings us to our first big topic, the microprocessor pin problem. And that subtitle says it all, fitting a highway of information onto a tiny chip. Seriously, think about it. You're trying to build this massive, complex highway system, but your entire workspace is the size of a fingernail. That was the reality in the 1970s. You see, every single time a microprocessor needs to talk to the outside world, whether it's memory or your keyboard or anything else, it needs a physical connection, a pin. And back then, pins were like beachfront property. They were incredibly valuable, and there just weren't enough of them to go around. The more pins you added, the bigger and more expensive your chip got. So you end up with this massive tug of war, right? On one side, the CPU is screaming for more connections. It needs a whole set of wires, a bus, just to send out addresses for memory, kind of like street addresses for your data. And then it needs a completely separate bus to actually move that data back and forth. But on the other side, you've got the hard facts of physics and economics pushing back, saying nope, fewer pins means a smaller chip, and a smaller chip is a cheaper chip. So what gives? Well, this is where the genius comes in. Instead of trying to add more pins, Intel's engineers came up with this brilliant, almost deceptively simple solution called multiplexing. And the whole idea? Make one bus do two jobs. So what is a multiplexed bus, really? It's exactly what it sounds like. You take one single set of physical wires, and you just make them work twice as hard. For a little bit of time, they carry one kind of information, and a moment later, they carry something completely different. It's our train track analogy all over again. You just need a bulletproof schedule to make sure the passenger train and the cargo train don't end up in the same place at the same time. And this is exactly how the Intel 8085 pulled it off. It had these 8 shared lines. You'll see them called AD7 down to AD0, and they were the workhorses. One tiny fraction of a second, these 8 wires are carrying part of a memory address. And then, blink, the next fraction of a second, those same 8 wires are being used to carry the actual data. So cool. One set of pins doing 2 totally different critical jobs. Okay, but wait a minute. If these wires are switching jobs so fast, how does anything else in the system keep up? How does the memory know if it's getting an address or if it's getting data? Well, you need a traffic hop. And that brings us to the real secret sauce here, this one little magic signal that makes it all possible. This signal is called ALE, which stands for Address Latch Enable. And honestly, its job is pretty simple, but absolutely crucial. It's basically leaning out the window and yelling to all the other parts of the computer, hey, pay attention, this is an address right now. And then a moment later, all right, switch, we're doing data now. I mean, it's more than just a switch, it's really the conductor of this whole tiny orchestra. ALE is what keeps everyone in perfect rhythm. It makes sure the memory chips are listening for an address at the exact right moment and then ready to receive data at the exact next moment. Without ALE, you just have total, utter chaos. And here's how beautifully simple it is. Look at this. When that ALE signal is high, or a 1, the bus is in address mode. It's sending out the location. Then when ALE flips to low, or 0, boom, those exact same wires are now in data mode. That's it. That simple flip from high to low is the key to the entire operation. All right, so we've got our shared bus, our single train track, and we've got our traffic cop, the ALE signal. Now, let's put it all together. Let's walk through one complete cycle, step by step, to see how this incredible little dance actually happens. Okay, here we go. Step 1. The CPU puts the first part of the memory address out on those shared AD lines. Step 2. ALE goes high. That's the signal. It tells this other little chip, an external latch. Quick, grab that address right now and hold on to it. So step 3, the latch does exactly that. It captures the address. Then comes step 4, ALE goes low.
This tells everyone, okay, the address is safe and sound, the bus is free now. Which brings us to the final step. Those same AD lines are now ready to either send or receive data to the location that was just latched. It's this perfectly choreographed little dance, happening millions of times a second.
Okay, so it's a really clever trick, we get it. But so what? Why did this one design choice matter so much in the grand scheme of things? Well, that's what we're going to talk about now, the incredible real-world payoff of this design. The benefits here were just huge. By sharing those 8 lines, Intel saved a ton of pins. Fewer pins meant the whole chip could be smaller. A smaller chip was way cheaper to make. And when the price of a powerful brain for a computer drops, well, suddenly way more people can afford to have one. You can draw a direct line from this multiplexing trick to the personal computer revolution taking off. And here's the kicker. Fewer pins didn't mean less power. Not at all. The AD85 could still handle a full 16-bit address, which let it talk to 64 kilobytes of memory. Now, that might not sound like much today, but back then, that was a ton of space. And it was all possible because of this clever solution of sharing pins. So that leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about, right? Today, we've got chips with billions of transistors, more connections than we can even